Okay, so picture this. It's the 1st of January of 2022, and with a year full of possibilities ahead, the first thing I decided to do was make bad decisions. Enter NisiOisiN's Ningen series. Ningen is a series of 7 books written by NisiOisin and illustrated by Take. The art is amazing as always. And well, Saragoto series, as I mentioned in last year's video, is my favorite series of all time. There's just no doubt about it. So, when I decided to read the spin-off series, oh, I almost dropped my phone, the spin-off series about the Serosaki family, I was like, yeah, there's no way this can be bad. The first 2 volumes, Ningen Exam and Ningen Knock, have mangas, and the mangas are pretty amazing. So I said, there's no way it can be bad. But it was. Let me start by the beginning. The first volume of the series is called Serosaki Soshiki no Ningen Shigen, or Serosaki Soshiki's Human Exam. It's like a pretty cool looking book, there's no denying it, and it's like I think the only book of NisiOisiN and Ningen series that comes with a CD. Yes. This little CD you insert in a CD reader on a PC, and it comes with backgrounds and whatnot. It's pretty nice, and yeah, it's just cool to see. But moving on to the book itself, yeah, it's disappointing. It's bad. It's just one of the worst things I've read by NisiOisiN. That's it. And it's sad to say because NisiOisiN is one of my favorite authors of all time. And yeah, it's always disappointing to not like something by him. In any case, this book is like how many pages? It is 288 pages too long. Yes, I said it. I mean, it has a lot of things going for it, like action, like some deep themes. It has some great characters. That's the thing I give Ningen. It has some awesome characters. I love Sochiki, I love Iori. But yeah, it's just badly written. It's a series that 90% of the time is just action. And what happens here, I don't know if because I haven't read Katanagatari in Japanese, just in English, but the way NisiOisiN wrote action in Ningen, it's just a bore. It's just not fun to read, and it's not like I don't like action in my books or something because, Katanagatari, another series by NisiOisiN, got English translation that I've read, and yeah, that's just a lot of fun to read. But in this case, it isn't. It's just dragged out, boring, not interesting to read. It's just this happens and that's it. It's not good. And well, when it comes to this particular book, it just falls flat on all ends. Like the main character Iori, when I read the manga adaptation of this book, I was like, she's amazing. There's no doubt about it. But when I read the novel, just all the characterization about her was gone, was missing. It was like added to the manga. Like the most important things about her character are just manga original. And yeah, I hate to say it's just a bad book. I did not enjoy it. I started very excited about this series. Yeah, as I read the first volume, I just had to push through it. I couldn't even finish. I just had to tell myself, you either finish this now or you're never gonna finish it. And that's what I did. It's not a good book. It's disappointing. It's badly written. It's just sad to see Nishisin write something like this. Next up is another book with amazing cover art. This is Serosaki Kishishiki no Ningen no, or Serosaki Kishishiki's Human Knock. Yeah, this also has a manga, and the manga you should go read it. It's like amazing. One of the best manga adaptations that NisiOisiN has ever gotten. And yeah, this also gets like this most of the same critiques I have about the first volume. In this case, all the characters are amazing. I don't have any problem with their characterization or anything. But again, it's just a lot of action. How long is it? I think this is over 300 pages. Yeah, 328, let's say. It's not fun to read. Like, it has some amazing characters. Book design is cool. Art is amazing. But yeah, it's just not fun. It's boring to read. And yeah, I think that's just a problem. Yeah, I just said it again before. It's a problem with the series overall. It's a series that it's just about action, non-stop action. And when the action is just badly written, well, I don't know if badly written because, well, I have never read much action, but it's just boring to follow. It's just something I did not like when reading. I like the characters. Like the best moments of all the books are when they are not fighting, and that's just like 10% of the books. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. The manga fixes a lot of my problems because, well, the action is just drawings, it's visual, so you don't have to bother with NisiOisiN's writing. And that's sad to say because Nisi's writing is usually amazing, but in Ningen it just fell flat. I do not like Ningen. And then there is the third volume again. I'd like to say disappointing, but this is actually the best volume of the Ningen series. This is Serosaki Magashiki no Ningen Ningen, or Serosaki Magashiki's Human Human. And yeah, this is actually a lot of fun. It's an amazing volume. The thing is that, well, it's not all the book is good because let me see the chapters. It's 4 chapters. Let's say the first two are action, like the two previous volumes, just non-stop action. And the second half of the book has like very little action, and yeah, that was just like amazing to read. Whenever there's not no action, it's just a lot of fun. And yes, this is just an example of how good an Indian series can get. Like, this is hands down the best volume in the series. Magashiki is an amazing character. And yeah, I really like Magashiki. It also has like a lot of, how to call it? It's like, I forgot how to say it. It's not fan service. Yeah, it's fan service for Seregoto fans because a lot of cool characters from Seregoto show up. And yeah, that's like quite cool to see. Give me a second. Yeah, no, my camera was acting funny. Fixed. So yeah, it's the best volume. Magashiki is the Serosaki of all time. I really, yeah. If I were to recommend a single Ningen volume, it's volume 3, hands down. Like, there's no helping it. It's actually, there is good in the bad, and this is the best of the bad there is. It's actually a lot of fun, and the ending had me floored. I was crying nonstop. It's that good. And next up is the Serosaki Hitoshiki no Ningen Kanke, Nionomiya Izumu to no Kanke, which is Serosaki Hitoshiki's human relations with Nionomiya Izumu. This book, I really, as everything with this series, I really wanted to like it. The art is amazing as always, and it has my two favorite characters of Saregoto, Hitoshiki and Izumu. But yeah, it's not good. It has a saving grace, which is that it is a pretty short book. It's how many pages long? Yeah, it's 184 pages long. Pretty short. I think I read it in less than a week. Yeah, which is still long for a book this size. Yeah, and this was bad with the exception of the prologue and the epilogue. because, well, in the case of the prologue, there's no action, and in the case of the epilogue, there is no action. So, yeah, we just get like the two characters in this book get their time to shine during those two chapters, and yeah, they are pretty enjoyable. Oh, there's something I forgot to show about this series. I don't have all of them because, well, I bought the book secondhand, but the Ningen books come with playing cards. Yeah, there's actually not a playing game, but yeah, these are just like funny little things. Like here it is, Kishishiki, Hitoshiki, uh, Iori. What was her last name? Hagihara Shiori from Saregoto 3. There's also Maikawajun, Tamamo, and Soshiki. Yeah, these are like super cute. Let me get them back on the book. Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to own. I really like Take's art. And yeah, in this case, it's cool to have those cards. I think this one didn't come with them. And I'm right, yeah. Next up in the series is Serosaki Hitoshiki no Ningen Kanke and Mato Yorito no Kanke. This is Serosaki Hitoshiki's human relationships with Mutoyori, which is this character from Ningen 1. This book also has its moments, but it's still pretty unenjoyable overall. Yeah, it has like a few cool moments, but yeah, it's action. It's boring to read. It really doesn't live up to what one expects from a series by NisiOisiN. It's just boring to read. It's you know what it feels like? It feels like this entire series was just written to be adapted into a manga. It's just like reading a manuscript, not a manuscript, like a storyboard or something. It's just like unpolished. It has no flair to it. It's boring. It's just plain, and the action is badly written. It's almost as if giving the mangaka instructions to what to draw. Yeah, I don't like it. But again, Hitoshiki, and yeah, in this volume, Iori was also quite cool. From volume 3, Iori also showed up, and well, in this volume, she became a much better character than in her own book, Ningen 1. And yeah, this was also another redemption. Yeah, she was quite cool in this volume. Next up, the second to last, this is relationships with Serosaki Soshiki, which is this guy from Ningen 1. And yeah, this is another cool Ningen book. This also has a few quite cool moments. It's quite short and quite... Yeah, it's just quite short and doesn't have a lot of action, but yeah, the overall story, it's just good. I really like it. Hitoshiki in this volume. And then the most disappointing of the entire series, if you don't want to be spoiled on this one, just jump ahead, I don't know, 3 minutes. And this is relationships with the nonsense user. Nonsense user, of course, being E from Sargoto. And yeah, this is a cool book in concept. I think this one is the only other book that comes with playing cards. Yeah, look, here we have E-chan. Then we have Hitoshiki again. This is Susuna Shineon, Tomo, Sasa Sasaki. I love her. And this is, I hate her name. Nanami. Well, and yeah, these are characters that show up in the book. Well, most of them. And it has a pretty fun cast of characters. Where is it? It has an illustration of some characters that show up. Yeah, like Sasan, Sasaki, Neon, and Nanami. But it's just not a good book. It's just like a random collection of characters doing everyday life things. And I don't really mind that, but we have E on the cover. It's called Relationships with the Nonsense User. And who never shows up? The Nonsense User. He's not in this book. He never shows up. He's mentioned at best, and yeah, that's it. It's just a random collection of interactions of Hitoshiki with another characters that I quite like. It doesn't have a lot of action, and it should be like one of the best Ningen volumes, following my theory of no action means better volume, because we actually get to know the characters and have like fun NisiOisiN thing, NisiOisiN conversations and whatnot. But that's not the case. It's horrible. It's bad. And well, that's it with the Ningen series by NisiOisiN. It's so disappointing. It's sad to see like my favorite author write an entire series I just didn't like. I would never reread this series. I didn't like it. It's quite sad to see. I think there's people who would like it, but it's just not what one would expect from a spin-off to Saragoto or something written by NisiOisiN. Like, if you go in with low hopes, this series can be enjoyable. But if you go in after having read Saragoto, like such an amazing series, it's quite disappointing. It's not good, not enjoyable, not fun to read. And yeah, it was just a bore from volume 1 to volume 7. It's not good. Moving on to some books I actually enjoy. We have again Kino's Journey. I feel like I should be reading more of these books per year, but that hasn't been the case. I own 21 volumes of this series, and I'm just still in having finished volume 4. But well, here we go. First, I read volume 3. This is, yeah, more Kino's Journey. It's just good. You can't fail with it. And again, in Japanese, I really recommend, if you're learning Japanese, I recommend Kino's Journey a lot, because despite being somewhat easy to read, like as in prose, it's not difficult to follow what's happening. The author does use a lot of kanji and words you don't see that often. Well, and yeah, it also has like a somewhat high amount of furigana, and the stories are just fun to read. It's just philosophical. It has cool illustrations. It has cool characters. It's with Kino's Journey. You can't fail. It's always a lot of fun. Let me see which stories this volume came with, because I remember one that I really like. It was, I really like this one. This is the country of the people with the same face. It's a country where people just have the same face. And this is the tale of a mechanical doll. This was adapted in the original Kino's Journey adaptation. Amazing chapter. Yeah, I really like Kino's Journey. Another very fun volume. Short, easy to read, short, fast to read. Yeah, there's just no fail with this series. I really recommend it. Next up is Kino's Journey Volume 4. This one has the original cover because, well, as you notice, this one has the different art style. It's still the same artist, Kuroboshi Kohaku, but they just remade the covers for reprints like years later, and yeah, that's why the difference in art. In any case, Kino's Journey Volume 4 also had a lot of fun. This one came with, where is it? Where is the table of contents? Wait a minute. Here it is. With these chapters, let me think of one that was really good. Oh, these two are really good. This is the uh, bridge country, which is just a pretty long bridge, and the second one is the tower country. Yeah, it's also pretty amazing. I really like those two chapters. This is the tower country. This one is amazing, and it also has some quite unique formatting. A lot of fun. Once again, I love this series. It's just there's no going wrong with it. I'd really like to read more volumes of Kino's Journey, but well, I just been reading like mystery stuff and doing whatnot, and I've been busy and yeah, I just haven't had the time. But if I had the time, you bet I just blaze through this series. It's a lot of fun. Really like it. Hopefully this year I will read more than 2 volumes because well, if I keep going like this, I'll catch up to date in 10 years. Yeah. Moving on, what else did I read? Oh, this I didn't read. I reread because reread, like I read again, because I read it last year. This is Smoke Soul or Sacrifices My Maijo Otaro. Yeah, I just read it again. And in this case, I own 2 copies of the book. I think I mentioned in last year's video, and one of them is a first printing. So when I reread this, I just noted down every single change Maijo made with in like the difference of printings because yeah, surprisingly there are some changes, some small and one pretty big change between first and second, third, fourth printings of the same novel. That's what something cool to read. Next up, what do I want to talk about? This is by Morimi Tomihiko. This is the Tatami Galaxy Jojo Hanshin wa Taikei. And yeah, this is book that I originally watched the anime. Like the anime is, mm, I like to say one of my favorites. Yeah, it's just a pretty good story with amazing animation. And when I started the book, I thought, yeah, there's no way this can live up to the anime, and it kinda didn't. But it also like is pretty good, especially because I had never read Tomihiko Morimi in Japanese. And well, I had heard stories that he's quite difficult to read and whatnot. Like look at all that kanji, and he wasn't that difficult to read, but he does use a lot of not common kanji and a lot of old words. For example, in this book, you'll never see him using the word for in the Japanese word for beer as in biru, which is like the more commonly used version of the word. No, he uses mugisake, I think, which is just um, I forgot the word for mugi in English. In any case, it's just like an uncommon word to use nowadays, and it's just like written as if it were all Japanese, which, in my opinion, adds a lot of character to it. And despite using old Japanese and difficult kanji and whatnot, his prose flows like butter. Like I breezed through this book. Like despite being so difficult to read, it's just like everything has. It has like a rhythm. It just flows very well when reading. It's like yeah, it's just a nice book to read. Like I think it was the first time ever I just went like, damn, this is like nice to the eye, like when you read something so that flows so nice, like despite the story at times not being the best or being boring, the way it's written just keeps you like, yeah, this is good. This is an amazing book. Yeah, Bunko. I really don't like Bunko, but in this case I got it because the Tankobon version doesn't have anime on the cover, so yeah, Bunko one. And next up is the Tatami Time Machine Blues. This is like a continuation, yeah, which was based on a play by Ueda Makoto called Summertime Machine Blues. And yeah, this is just more Tatami Galaxy, more of the same characters, but in this time there's like a time machine, And yeah, this is actually pretty short. It's like just like 200 pages, while the first book is over 400. And despite that, I think I enjoyed this way more. This is like, I mean, both are just like love stories and whatnot. but this one did it way better. I don't know. This has like more things to like, but the emotions this made me feel were just leagues better. This is such a fun read and also such a pretty book. Let me show it to you. I think I already showed it in another video, but yeah, it's just so nice. It's just amazing stuff. I really want to read more Morimi in the future. What's next? I don't know what to talk about now. There's just so many things. I think I said when I talked about Ningen that I was done with books that I didn't like, but yeah, here we go again. This is Karo no Kyokai, The Garden of Sinners. This is by Nasu Kinoko, author of Fate and Tsukihime and whatnot. And this is the 20th anniversary editions, just pretty nice editions. Story-wise, I have to admit I really like it. I really like the characters. I really like the story. But yeah, the prose, the way Nasu writes, or well, used to write when back then, because I think this was his first published work, it's just very amateurish. It doesn't read nice. It's like overly complicated. Like, you know, when I talked about Morimi, when he uses kanji, difficult kanji to read and whatnot, but it's still an easy experience, you know? It flows well. In the case of Nasu, it's the complete opposite. It's just written confusingly and difficult for the sake of it. It has no meaning thematically, it has no reason to be written in such a I'd like to say hard to read way because, but yeah, it was a not. I mean, not as in difficult, as in hard. Like I didn't understand. As in just messy. It's a messy writing. I like every chapter, like yeah, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is I like to say a masterpiece. Chapter 5 is fucking amazing. Where yeah, I was really liking the book. I was like, yeah, I don't know why people don't like this series. It's just good. At first, I was like, yeah, it may be difficult to write, but it was his first book. It's like kind of enduring, you know. But then I read the last chapter, which is like chapter 7, and then the epilogue, and you have no idea how bad those were. It built up such an amazing story and characters, and the ending was just the most horrible thing I have ever read. It's bad. It's horrible. Like chapter 7 started as in, yeah, this is um it wasn't chapter 7, it came before chapter 7, and how is it called an intermission, and it just yeah, intermission. No, where is it? Oh, I forgot which one it was. This one, Kyokai Shiki, an intermission between chapter 6 and 7, and this is fucking amazing. And then everything it set up for the next chapter was just thrown out of the window. It was horrible. The end is bad. It's horrible. Yeah, you know, it makes me so mad to see such a good book. I mean, with its errors, its thing. I did not like the prose, but still, the characters and story had me going through the entire series. But then the end was just so bad that you know, my opinion of the entire series turned sour. I would recommend it, but yeah, be careful of those last two chapters. They are horribly disappointing. And you know, I usually don't mind if an ending is bad, if the rest of the book was magnificent. But yeah, in this case, I don't know, the ending just turned my entire opinion on Nasu sour, which I don't know, I may fix when reading some of his newer stuff, like I got the Tsukihime remake. And yet that may make me like Nasu again. After that, I love this guy, Seiryo in Ryusui. Wait, I read this one first. This is Joker, Old Testament Detective Myth. This is a continuation to Cosmic, which I talked about last year. And yeah, this is once again a chunker. And yeah, I'd like to say Cosmic has a lot of more amazing things going for it, but Joker is just like my cup of tea. It's a book again of the JDC series by Sirio and Rusi. Where does he say? Oh, this is cool. We will not stop reading fictional stories because it is in them that we seek a formula to give meaning to our existence. Throughout our lives, we look for a story of our origins to tell us why we are born and why we have lived. It's such a good book, you have no idea. It's part of the JDC series. Like, once again, we have the amazing detectives from JDC. But in this case, instead of being a massive scale crime like the 1200 locked rooms of Cosmic, it's just a group of writers. I don't remember how many of them there were, that goes vacationing to inn inspired by Edogawa Rampo's Genejo Castle, which is the Castle of Illusions. And yeah, just like it's like a pretty relatively small cast for Ryusui, and still then it's even larger than Cosmic. It's just an amazing meta mystery. It does so many amazing things. It's I think one of the best mystery novels I read, and that's like a high praise when pretty much all that I read is mystery. And yeah, Joker, I really enjoyed it. It has like again amazing characters like Tsukumo Yuku, Jaiba Soma, and yeah, it's an amazing cast of characters. And the mystery just goes insane. It's yeah, I really love JDC series. It's probably my third favorite series of all time. And yeah, it's quite sad because like so much of the mystery relies on word plays or things that aren't easily translatable. So yeah, this entire series it's just I'd like to say impossible to translate, but in my opinion there is nothing that is impossible to translate. There is nothing that is impossible to translate, so I'd like to say a translation of JDC is just not feasible. It takes too much time, too much thinking power to try and come up with English equivalents to a lot of things that make the mystery work or be fair. And because it works a lot of ways. How is it when homonyms? Yeah, words that sound the same but mean different things, or it relies a lot of kanji wordplay, and the Japanese language as a whole is used like an instrument to give out clues to the reader. Yeah, it's just difficult to translate, and I really don't see this series ever getting translated into English in a way that would make it an experience as equal as in the Japanese. Like, it may be translated, but if the translator is lazy, it just loses a lot of its charm of this. Like, let's say you're reading it and this word is out of place, or this word may have another meaning, or if we take this kanji and like that kind of thing, it's just not feasible to translate it. But in any case, Joker, Old Testament detective myth by Syrian Rusi, it's hands down one of the best books I ever read. There's just there's no doubt about it. It's so much fun. I really, after Joker in the JDC series comes the Carnival arc, which is like three pretty long books. Well, the first one is quite short, and I have taken more time reading the first book of Carnival, which is 300 pages, than all of Joker, which is almost 800 pages. But yeah, if I were to say I want to read more JDC, I may just reread Joker instead of continuing Carnival. But I really want to finish Carnival because, well, Carnival Day, which is the one I'm currently in there. Then there is Carnival and Carnival Day. But yeah, I just will finish Carnival Day because I don't have the time to reread all of this. But one day I will. and I will really love that. Next up, more Seiyuu Rusi. This is 19 books, or how it is read in Japanese, jukebox. This is the new mystery Genesis. Genesis as in the Bible, the book of Genesis. And yeah, this is another pretty amazing book by Seiyuu Ryusui. It isn't part of the JDC series, it's part of the Kimura Shuichi series, if I remember correctly. And this is a short story collection composed of 4 stories. The man. The stories included are, where is it here? It's Countdown 50, A Flowery Poem, Monami, and The Murder of Kimura-kan Double, and the last one is The Murder of the Harakiri Detective. This book fucking slaps. I love it. You know, like in according to Seiyuu Rusi, he writes something that it's called the Seiyuu Taisetsu, which is basically the idea that he doesn't write many works. His entire books, or let me see if it's in Joker. I think he calls it even his discography. Now it's in Cosmic. Well, his books, his entire works, are just one book. Or well, that's how he interprets it. I may be explaining it wrong, but like, even though he has different series, in a way, all of his books are connected, and yeah, that makes this an especially fun experience, because while reading it, I mean, without having read Cosmic Joker, it works perfectly on its own. But if you have read those 2 books, you can tell this was written to be read after Cosmic and Joker, because just a lot of narrative aspects it has. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and it even has like a instruction manual on how to read it, because you can completely ignore this and just read the book as is, but in the end it has an appendix, which is choose your own story adventure. Yeah, that's right, it's a choose your own story adventure. Like, here you make a choice and go to question 10, you look for question 10. Where is it? Here, question, this is 11, and let's say you choose something and continue, and it's just a pretty fun thing. And depending on the way it gives you, in the end it gives you, you get to the request, which are different ways of reading the stories. Like, for example, let's say I could request the first, I'd have to read Countdown 50, then the Flower Poem, then the Harakiri Detective, and at last the Murder of Kimura-kan. Or well, request F, Kimura-kan, Harakiri, Flowery, and Countdown 50. It's just a lot of fun, and well, depending on the answer you get, because of the choose your own adventure game, you also get like a fortune, like a thing that think about your personality. It just has a lot of charm, and I love it. And well, that's just a lot of fun. That choose your own adventure thing it just made me have a lot of fun before even starting to read the stories of the book. And yeah, it's just like a lot of fun meta mystery. It has a lot of charm. I love it. In case you want to know more about this book, I wrote a written review, which I think is my best piece of writing ever, and I'll link it in the description. It's go read that if you want to know more about this book, because it's just one of a kind. Really, it's amazing. Like, so far, with everything I've read from Ryusi, he really just doesn't miss. It's so good. Next up, we are getting to the last author I'm going to talk about. It is Maijo Otaro. And here I have his book, Ashura Girl, which last year I read in English, and this year I read in Japanese. This is like also so pretty. I really like the book design of the Japanese version over the English one. The English is ugly. I don't like it. And yeah, this is just more Ashura Girl, but in Japanese. It's well, of course it would be. It's once again a lot of fun. Maijo's prose flows like super good in this book. Like you just flow from one sentence to another. It has like a lot of things to like. And a thing that I noticed when reading this is that the English version is heavily censored. Yes, that's right. The English version has a lot of censored aspects to it. It has things rewarded or entire scenes cut out, and it had one or another translation mistake. But yeah, it's sad to see the only officially translated Maijo novel have like such censorship, because yeah, it's amazing as it is originally by the author, but I kinda get why it was censored, because Maijo's things can be a lot of times too much, you know. And in this case, it has some scenes that I completely understand why the publisher decided to remove it, just to avoid controversy in the United States, which is the country this translation was going to get published in. Which is sad to see, but I kinda get it from a what is it? We want this book to sell standpoint. But yeah, it's just sad to see that. In my Twitter, I made a thread about all the things that got censored from the English translation. So yeah, if you read the English book and wonder about what was censored, you can go check my Twitter thread, which I'll also link in the description. Um, and yeah, besides like just the violent, weird stuff that got censored, there was just also a scene where the character mentioned the Feast of the North Star or makes a reference to it, and that reference was completely removed in the translation, which the first thing that came to mind was it may be because Feast of the North Star is owned by another company, or they don't have the rights to mention it in the book or something. But that doesn't make sense, because the company that published this book in English is Hakaisoru, is a subsidiary of Viz Media, the manga publisher which publishes Feast of the North Star. That was such a weird translation choice. Like it's a Japanese book. It's going to be read by weebs, and the original author wrote like a reference to the Feast of the North Star for a reason. And yeah, that was just removed in the English translation. In any case, moving on to another amazing book. This is Jason Fourth Room. This is Maijo Otaro's first poem collection. This was originally written in 1996. To give some context, Maijo debuted in 2001 with Smoke Solar Sacrifices. So yeah, this book was just written before he debuted. This is published by Nanarokusha, which also published his short story collections of Midnight Hyakutaro Entrance and Midnight Hyakutaro Exit, which is like a collection of 50 and 50 ghost short stories, which is also quite amazing of a read. I will maybe finish those books in 2023. But yeah, this is another amazing book by Maijo. I think it's one of my favorite Maijo books. This I made also a pretty good written review that I recommend you also go check out. It's like, yeah, another piece of writing I'm just really proud of. And this is just a poem collection. It has like illustrations by Maijo. It's a pretty book. Like not much going from for the design, but it works, you know. It's not that as if I said this is an ugly book. It's pretty on its own right, and it's poetry, so yeah, that's cool. Oh my god, here we have the Angel Bunny. It's just such a good book. It's like poem collections. It's just like a lot of different poems. But the thing is that, you know, I've never considered myself a poetry kind of guy. But the thing with this book is that the entire poems form a cohesive narrative, as in there is a story to be told to every single poem, and all poems are related to one another. And yeah, it's just like a retelling of a love story through poems that aren't arranged in chronological order. And I gotta say, it's fucking amazing. I cried while reading this poetry. For a guy who has never liked poetry in his life, this book is what got me into poetry. It's just an amazing story, and the poems, it's just nice to read. Like I never liked poetry, but reading this, I just noticed like how fun of a medium it can be. I really fucking like this. I love this book, like hands down. And well, you can tell so in my written review, which I beg you please go check out. It's so good. I really like Jason Fordham. And yeah, I think that this book came with, because this is a first printing, it came with a postcard, which is a replica of the original manuscript of Smoke Solar Sacrifices. Here we have the first page, and the thing is that it is signed by Maijo. Like each of the first printings of Jason Fordham come with one of these, like signed in another place or something. Like, yeah, Maijo signed all of this by hand. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's amazing. I love Smoke Solar Sacrifices, and to have like a postcard of the original manuscript signed. Yeah, I love that. And another thing that this first edition came with. Oh, I forgot to show the other illustration of the book. Yeah, it's so pretty. That this book came with is like a pamphlet thing of the Color of the Fatal Eyes. This is a story that Maijo wrote in 1993, so even older than Jason Fordham. And well, Nanarokusha just decided to include the first few pages of this. And yeah, for being like just 3 pages of this entire thing of the Color of the Fatal Eyes, yeah, it's interesting enough that I really want to read that. Like I pray that this is just some kind of teaser of Nanarokusha publishing more of Maijo's pre-debut stuff, because yeah, I really want to read more of his pre-debut stuff. For example, there is a book that Maijo never it hasn't been published, but I think Otakatsushi talked about it, which is End of the Century Santa, where a lot of Maijo characters that are referenced in another of his books first showed up, and he maintained, despite it not being published, it has a place on the Maijo continuity. That yeah, it's just sad to see it hasn't been published, and Maijo still references a book that no one besides him and some guys at Kodansha have read. Yeah. In any case, Jason Fordham is amazing. Pick Kino. Next up is Speed Boy, another amazing book by Maijo. This is the second book in the Shinitomo Naruo series. And yeah, it's just again a lot of fun. This is a tale of speed, published by what is it, Kodansha Box. I think it's Maijo's only ever book published by Kodansha Box. The first book in the series is Yamanaka no Shinitomo Naruo, which I haven't finished, but it's also a lot of fun. This is the second book in the series, and the third book in the series is The Tree of the Beast, Kemono no Ki. And the thing with me saying this is the second book in the series and that I haven't read the first one, it makes sense, because despite being a series, like each book is self-contained. And yet this is an amazing book. It's a tale about a boy called Naruo, which just is in pursuit of speed. And you know, that may sound boring, but Maijo really outdid see himself with this book. It's super short. It's, I think, like 100 pages. It's super short, I'm telling you. Where is the page count? On top. Yeah, 198 pages. Like the way Maijo writes the speed that the main character achieves or goes through, it's amazing. Like it's like you can feel the speed through his writing. It's that good, and the story it's telling, like besides being a tale of speed, it's like a tale of solitude. It's Like, I'd like to say more things about it, but I don't want to spoil it. Like, go read it. I really recommend it. It's pretty good. And last but not least, it's yeah, it's Maijo Otaro's Disco Wednesday. I'll come back in a second. Okay, I'm back. I had to go get some water because my throat is dying. And the last books I read, well, it's I didn't talk about this in order, but the last books I'm going to talk about are Disco Tante Suyobi or Disco Detective Wednesday, or as in the official English name, it's Disco Wednesday. These books are considered the fifth great Japanese mystery, and it shows it's more mystery novels, my Otaro, and pretty fucking massive. I think this is 600 pages, and second volume is 400. It's pretty book, pretty big. It's about a detective called Disco Alexander Wednesday, and it's just like a time travel mystery and whatnot. Let me see the in the first few pages, like we get some insane diagrams and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. I can't find the diagram. In any case, it's an amazing book, like one of the books of all time. it's it has a lot of things to like. It has some amazing characters. It has some amazing. It's just a pretty nice story. It has a pretty strong message. It has a lot of things to like. It's like crazy, fast paced. It's a scale of mystery that it's just in a massive scale. It's like difficult to not difficult to follow. It's just pretty out there for mysteries. It's just like one of a kind. It's like Maijo goes crazy but still makes a fair mystery that is coherent, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. I love Disco Wednesday. I recommend it to absolutely everyone. Like as always with Maijo, there are a lot of things to not like, but yeah, if you can get over that, this is just such a nice tale. It's again one of my favorite books of all time, and yeah, Maijo just never fails. If I think like there has just been one thing written by Maijo that I haven't liked, and it's his manga called Spotless Love. And yeah, that has been the only thing by Maijo I haven't liked. Like, I just really like how he writes. I like his stories, and I like the messages he tries to convey through his writing. Oh right, I actually forgot about something. Last book I'm going to talk about, Kuma no Baisho, The Place of the Bird of the Bear. This is another Maijo short story collection that is composed of three stories. The first one of them is Kuma no Basho, the title of the book, Place of the Bear. Then is Batman, and then there is Picon. I'd like to say it's a lot of fun. It is actually worth reading, but it's not the best thing Mayo has written. Picon, the last story in the collection, it's amazing, but the first two are just like too dragged out. I mean, they are short stories, but yeah, they still manage to feel dragged out. But yeah, there's still a lot of things to like about this book. In any case, I'm pretty sleepy and I don't want to talk about to make this video longer. That's why I just blasted through these last two. I just want to sleep. So yeah, see you next year in another What Did I Read This Year video. Goodbye.